Hey everybody, it's Mike. I'm back and I'm ready to do another show here. Hey, let's see, what do we got? We got Trey Martin Watts. Hey buddy, thanks for joining in. Everybody. All right, so big news. Some kind of lawsuit was filed, or they're saying there's a lawsuit filed today, so that's kind of big news. I wanted to talk about that, go over that with you, so we're going to get right to that right away. Let's see. Bam.
Hello?
Hello.
Okay, so like I said, well, first let's first things first. Okay, first things first. There you go. Got classes in session. So, if you're in the cult, and you need to be deprogrammed. You came to the right place. This is not a debate. I'm not here to debate you about Krishna and his pastimes and the spirit soul and his life comes from whatever the fuck. I don't give a shit. I ain't here for that. I'm here to talk the truth, not that bullshit. I'm not here to talk about your cult bullshit. I'm here to speak the truth. And if you want to hear it, stick around because you need to hear it. Because you're in a fucking cult. You need to get the fuck out of it. So stick around if you're in a cult. If you're not in a cult and you're here because you don't know what the fuck this is all about, I'll tell you what this is all about. The Hare Krishnas are a dangerous fucking cult, okay? They're a bunch of pedophiles and child molesters, and they treat women like shit. They're racist, they're sexist, and they're homophobic, and they're all of that. And worse, they believe that 11-year-old girls, 12-year-old girls must be married to grown men. And if you want to know more about that, just watch yesterday's show. I go all over that. And I'll go over it again probably today. But just let it be known. These guys promote child marriage. They think that girls are their most beautiful, women are their most beautiful at the ages of 11, 12, 13 years old. These are grown men saying this. Okay, they think that women look their most beautiful. They're the most beautiful and most attractive when they're little girls. And they think that grown men should be getting married to these little girls, these little 11, 12, 13-year-old girls. That's what this fucking cult is about. All the other crap, all the other lies and bullshit, it's all just to move this thing along. Move this thing along. This pedophile cult. All this shit is in their books. Ramananda Roy bathing these young girls and touching their private parts. It's in their books. I don't have to make it up. I went over that shit too. You can watch 2 shows back and I talk about that. So we're moving forward, okay? We're not going backwards. We're moving forward. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're gonna have to watch the last show. Sorry. I'll try to get you caught up, but I can't guarantee it's going to make sense because it doesn't make sense. It's all a bunch of bullshit. It's lies and bullshit. And this new lawsuit is just more lies and bullshit and crap. They already had one lawsuit that they lost. Child abuse. right? They were found liable for child abuse. And now I guess there's another lawsuit. Let's figure out what's going on with this new lawsuit. This one, the first one that took place in the early 2000 was filed in the 90s, and it was finally settled sometimes in the 2000s. I don't know. I don't remember exactly when. $400 million lawsuit. Alan Dershowitz. You know, this story is fucking insane. Alan Dershowitz defended this pedophile cult and got their $400 million settlement award for the children knocked down to just like 10 million, 9 million, 10 million. Because he's another pedophile who's been to Epstein Island and defended Epstein and defends all kinds of weird pedophile, sex offender, whatever. And he admits going to Epstein Island and getting massages from little girls. Dershowitz admits that. And that's the guy that they got to defend them in their child abuse case. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but it just shows you that birds of a feather, they all flock together. You got a pedophile cult that needs defending, well, you can find yourself a pedophile lawyer to defend them. And that's what they got. So they already had one lawsuit that they lost. I don't know what this new one is. Let's see what it says here. Let's see what it says. I don't know what it is. I don't know what this is. It says here, ISKCON child abuse case filed in India, July 1925. Founder and trustee, it says, breaking news, a criminal case has been lodged in the High Court of New Delhi against ISKCON and its leadership for the historical and systemic abuse of children. I pray this case will finally bring ISKCON's leaders to afford the protection of our children the importance they deserve. And then it says in the photo, Ajay Garg, the lawyer heading the case. And then it goes on to say, so I guess this is some kind of official announcement. It says, to the Board of Directors, Justice for Srila Prabhupada Foundation. Okay, so right there, I got to stop. Stop right there. Justice for Srila Prabhupada Foundation. Filing of complaint regarding systemic abuse in ISKCON institutions before competent authorities in India. So they they're filing a lawsuit against an organization called Justice for Srila Prabhupada Foundation is filing a lawsuit against ISKCON regarding the systemic child abuse in ISKCON institutions. So somehow this is supposed to protect Prabhupada. They want justice for Prabhupada. Somehow they feel that the children being molested it makes Prabhupada look bad, which it does because it's his fucking cult. Prabhupada created the cult. He created the schools. He put the people in charge of the schools. And then when shit went left, when shit went south, he didn't give a fuck. So who's to blame? What the fuck are they trying to? What do they want? Prabhupada can't blame Prabhupada. He's the pure devotee. We got to blame someone else. We need justice for Prabhupada. We need to clear Prabhupada's name. You guys sued ISKCON for $400 million and made Prabhupada look bad. So now we need justice for Prabhupada. We need to sue the right people for making Prabhupada look bad. We write to formally inform you that pursuant to your instructions and under the authority vested in us by you, we have filed a detailed comprehensive complaint dated July 19, 2025 regarding the serious instances of child abuse and systemic violations of child rights within ISKCON, run gurukuls, ashrams, temples, and affiliated institutions in India. The complaint has been submitted on behalf of the Justice for Srila Prabhupada Foundation. It's not the Justice for the Krishna Kids, or Justice for the Gurukuli kids, or Justice for Prabhupada's kids, or Justice for the Hare Krishna Kids, or Justice for the Children of Krishna organization, or Justice for the Children of ISKCON, or Justice for Prabhupada's children. There's no mention of children. It's the Justice for Srila Prabhupada Foundation. But he's the one that's guilty. He's the one who was a failure his whole life. He failed at a marriage. He failed at being a father. He failed at being a husband. He failed at he dropped out of college, didn't get his diploma. Failed at his chemistry business, made toothpaste that made people's teeth fall out. Started a magazine that folded in after 3 or 4 publications, right? And then he wrote a bunch of books that nobody wanted, and he had to bring them to America and unload them on a bunch of hippies. It doesn't sound like someone who's very successful. And then he started this stupid-ass cult where he says 11-year-old girls must be married to 22-year-old, 25-year-old men, while he himself was 22 years old when his wife was 11 years old. And then he said himself, I didn't even like my wife. Well, yeah, she was 11 years old, you fucking asshole. You raped her. I bet she didn't like you either, you fucking dirty old man. These fucking people, they want justice for him. They want justice for this fucking piece of shit. When they came to him and told him that every kid in the school was being molested, he was like, he didn't say, take me back to see the kids, I want to talk to the kids. He didn't say, hey, let's get them some therapy. He didn't say, we need to notify the parents. He didn't say notify the authorities. We need to investigate this whole thing. He didn't say call the police and have them arrest the guy that you. No, he didn't do any of that shit. Not one of those things did he do. That's what he did. That's what he did. He didn't give a shit. He didn't close down the school. He didn't stop what he was doing and say, take me back to Vrindavan. I want to talk to the kids. I want to see the kids. I want to go investigate what's going on. What the fuck's going on? He didn't do any of that. He didn't do any of that. He said, oh, kick him out, but not too bad because he can come back on Sunday for the feast if he wants to. The fuck? Prabhupada himself couldn't even kick out the guy who molested the kids in his school. Prabhupada couldn't do it. He couldn't kick him out. Epstein's lawyer, yep. Epstein's lawyer. Justice? Yeah, that's what I said. Justice for Prabhupada. Prabhupada's the one who caused all this shit. Prabhupada's the reason these kids were molested in the first place. If Prabhupada hadn't opened up a school, no kids would have ever gotten in there. If Prabhupada had wanted to create a school, he should have did it the right way. He should have opened up a real fucking school. No, he couldn't open up a real school. He didn't have the money for that. He was living on fucking beggars, selling his books to fucking hippies on the street. selling flowers in the airport and bugging people for change. That's what he's living on. You think he gave a shit about these kids? He didn't give a fuck about these kids. He's the reason they were all molested in the first place. But they want to clear Prabhupada's name. These fucking pricks. They're more worried about Prabhupada and his name and what it means to him than the kids that were fucking molested. They don't give a shit about these kids. Can you imagine being a kid that was molested and you see that, oh, Justice for Prabhupada Foundation? Where's the justice for my daughter that was molested? Where's the justice for all of these kids that were molested in these schools? My daughter wasn't part of the $400 million lawsuit because she came in, she was in the schools after. She wasn't in that generation of kids that were suing. She wasn't in the school where the kids that were suing were. And she still got molested. So my daughter wasn't part of that lawsuit. She didn't see any of that money. She wouldn't have seen any of it anyway because there was 400 kids and they only got, I don't know what they all got, but after you pay the lawyer off, and that lawyer was a fucking expensive-ass lawyer, right? He's like the top lawyer in the country. Those kids didn't get shit. You get split up $9 million. The lawyer gets $3 million. So it has $6 million bucks. And 450 kids. So you divide up $6 million by 450. And then after taxes or whatever, what do those kids get? A year's pay? 1 year's salary at a minimum wage job or something? I don't know what they got. They didn't get that much. If anything, I don't know what 6 million. I don't know the details of it, but 6 million divided by 450 doesn't sound like a whole lot. Not that. Not when you do it that way. Justice for crooks. Justice for Prabhupada. Prabhupada is the reason these kids were molested, but they want to say it's the Justice for Prabhupada Foundation. If I was one of these kids that was molested, I'd be like, what the fuck? Justice for who? Justice for who? This guy brainwashes my parents and convinces them to stick me in a fucking boarding school with Krishnas that rape and torture me and abuse me from the time I'm a toddler to the time I can fight back. This guy, you want justice for him? The guy that brainwashed all these parents into sticking their kids in these fucking concentration camps? Just abandon their kids? Like the girl said, I didn't even know who my parents were. I didn't even know who my parents were. They just dropped me off in the temple. I was a baby. I got raised by this lady and then that lady and they couldn't even find her real family. Like maybe she had an aunt or an uncle that weren't Hare Krishnas that could have raised her. No, they stuck her in a fucking boarding school with other Hare Krishnas so she could be abused, molested or raped and married off at 13 or whatever the fuck. They want to abandon their kids so they can go play Hare Krishna cosplay as a fucking 15th century gay Bengali, and they want to drop their kid off at a fucking concentration camp. Why can't they just send the kid off with Aunt Susie or Grandma? Oh no, because they're karmis. I've been brainwashed into believing that I can't do that. My brain's mush now. I don't think like a normal person anymore. This guy brainwashed me into thinking I got to stick my kid in his fucking school, where the kids are going to eat fucking maggot-infested rice and food with lizards in it and shit, and then get tortured and beaten and molested and raped. It's fucking disgusting. And they want justice for the guy that caused the whole fucking thing. How fucking sick is that? How fucking sick is that? Justice for Prabhupada. God damn these fucking pieces of shit. Fucking amen. The complaint spans over 850 pages along with multiple annexures comprising Child Protection Office reports of ISKCON. Child Protection Office is really Guru Protection Office. They ain't protecting no children. They ain't never protected one child. They protect a lot of gurus, though. Shit, they're protecting gurus right now. Molester gurus and gurus that are having sex with their disciples and sex with little boys and girls and all. They protect all of them. But the children, nah. Survivor statements, statements of child rights activists, psychological expert assessments, documentary evidence corroborating sexual, physical, and psychological abuse within ISKCON premises, documentary proof of systemic cover-up by ISKCON's governing body commission, specific violations of the POCSO Act, Juvenile Justice Act, and applicable child protection statutes. We have sought criminal prosecution of the offenders, dismantling of the institutional cover-up machinery, audit of the institutions of the ISKCON, and a rehabilitative framework for victims funded by ISKCON, among other reliefs. We remain committed to pursuing this matter in accordance with the law and are prepared to initiate further legal proceedings should the authorities fail to take timely and effective action. We will keep you regularly informed of all subsequent developments and responses from the concerned authorities as soon as received. Please feel free to contact us for any further clarification or assistance in this regard. This is coming from this guy's law office in Delhi. Okay, so, and then there's a whole discussion here about this. Then there's like a little discussion from devotees that are discussing this thing. And here it says, ISKCON's misleaders and their blind followers who protected the poisoners and child abusers need to get exposed or jailed in an Indian prison. So it just sounds like they're trying to just relitigate this again. They already were found guilty in U.S. court, $400 million judgment, knocked down to $10 million or $9 million. I don't know what they plan to accomplish with this, except maybe try to. I have no idea. It doesn't sound. It sounds stupid to me. It sounds like I don't even know what the. So they say, who is the Justice for Srila Prabhupada Foundation? Who is that? Yeah. So, yeah, I looked that up. And who's the Justice for Srila Prabhupada? And why does he need justice? Why does he need justice? What happened? He is a cult leader. He started this cult. He brainwashed a bunch of hippies and other people, whatever, me included. Some of you out there were brainwashed by this fuck. He lives like a king, travels around the world, opens all these temples, never has to worry about shit, never has to wipe his ass, never has to friggin' worry about anything. He doesn't wash his clothes, he doesn't cook his own food, he doesn't do anything. He sits on a little stool and talks about fairy tales all day long. And writes his fairy tale books and does snuff at night. That's all he does. And neglect his children. Neglect the kids that are in his care. Neglect the kids that are in his schools. He was pretty good at that. He did that pretty well. That's the one thing he was successful at, was neglecting the children that he put in his friggin' boarding schools. He was good at that. Other than that, he sucked at everything else. So why does he need justice? What justice does he need? Who wronged him? little meditating, little holy man, little meditating holy man. Why does Prabhupada need justice? What? He wasn't. There's no free Prabhupada. Prabhupada was never in jail. He was never in. Like, what happened to him? Prabhupada got off scot-free. Prabhupada belonged in jail for starting this whole thing and ruining the lives of so many kids, so many suicides, so many lives ruined, so many families broken up, so many children molested and raped. So many people suffering from trauma to this day. To this day, not just the people that join, but the families that they leave behind. The kids, the parents that join and stuck their babies in these schools because they got brainwashed into doing that. I don't know how. You brainwash someone into sticking your kid in a school. You don't even know who the teacher is. You just drop your kid off at a temple and then just go off to play Hare Krishna? What the fuck? That little girl didn't even know. She was like, I don't even know. Nobody knew who her parents were. They're like, we don't even know where you came from. You've been here longer than me. Imagine being that little girl. No, because we didn't grow up like that. We grew up in a normal family, in a normal home, where our dad took off, or we had a mom and a dad in a home, and dad beat up mom, whatever it was. We didn't get stuck in a fucking Hare Krishna school with a bunch of fucking freaks. Like this guy in my chat who's like, hey, my brother got a book and now he's fucking gone, man. We don't know where he is or what he's doing, or we don't talk to him anymore. He was a software engineer, but now he's milking a cow in India. I'm like, yeah, man. Sorry. I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm trying to keep people from ending up like that. That's why I do this show, so people won't end up brainwashed and their fucking lives and their families and everything just torn apart, and just for what? Because some guy sitting on a stool talking about fairy tales? Demon heads eating the moon? Fucking disgusting, man. I get so fucking pissed off at this shit. Because I gave them 20 years of my life. For what? For what? So I could pretend to be a holy man too, like these fucking assholes? Act like I'm a holy man? I could do it. I know all the tricks. I know how to talk like them and tell the stories. I know all those fucking tricks. It's all bullshit, that's why. It's fucking, like this Gora Hari freak. Oh, I don't chant rounds. He has no rules at all. It's just, hey, whatever you want to do, just do whatever you want. Well, why do I need to come into your fucking Zoom for? If you got no rules and no anything, and you can do whatever you want and whatever, and everything's cool, the fuck I need you? Why am I calling you Guru Dev and Maharaj and coming into your Zoom Sangha thing? If everything's okay and nothing matters, why even chant? Explain that to me, Gaurahari. Why even chant? Why can't I just think that I'm chanting? Why can't I just imagine I'm so? You imagine that Prabhupada came to you in a dream and now you're a guru. Why can't I imagine that I'm chanting 64 rounds in my head? Makes as much sense as Prabhupada coming to you in a dream. If Prabhupada can come to you in a dream and make you a guru, I can chant 64 rounds in my head. Here, hold on a second. There, I just chanted another one. That's 65. That makes as much sense as anybody coming to anybody in a dream and making you a guru. What to speak of a pure devotee, whatever the fuck that is. How are you a pure devotee when your wife was 11 years old and you were 22? How is that pure of anything? Oh, because it's Vedic. Oh, it's your imaginary Vedic culture that never existed from 5,000 years ago, that there's no trace of, that never existed on this planet. And you just want me to believe it because you say it, because you're some old Indian guy who lived in a fucking hut in Calcutta somewhere. And and I'm supposed to believe that there's a demon head eating the fucking moon. And 11-year-old girls is make the best wives, because Prabhupada was 22 and his wife was 11 years old. So, hey, if Prabhupada can do it, it must be Vedic. It must be Vedic. It must be Vedic, man. Well, you can see how a guy who had an 11-year-old wife didn't give a shit about kids, because when he had kids in his charge, kids in his schools, kids that he was supposed to be taking care of, he didn't give a fuck about them. He gave about as much fuck about those kids as he gave about his wife. He didn't give a shit about her either. But justice for Prabhupada. Fucking give me a break. Fucking sick pieces of shit. And they make me sick. They make me fucking sick. Thinking that the story about Ramananda Roy touching these little girls, touching their private parts. It says in the Chaitanya Chartamrita, Antya Lila, chapter 5, text 15. It goes in to explain how Ramananda Roy gave these young girls a bath and was rubbing oil on them, and he was touching them and massaging them, and it specifically states that he touched their privates. And they had to make sure that they put that in there. Like just bathing their naked bodies and rubbing them with oil and massaging them, that wasn't bad enough. We had to get the details that he actually touched their private parts. Why? Why do I need to know that? Why do I need to know that Ramananda Roy was so advanced in Krishna consciousness that he could touch a little girl's private part? Why do I need to know that? What are you trying to tell me? What are you trying to say? What's the point of that story? What is the point of that verse? Jai ho, hey, how you doing? Good to see you here. Is there any question? Does anybody out there that doesn't understand why there's a $400 million lawsuit against these people? Why there's a current lawsuit filed against these people? When their books are talking about some old guy who's touching little girls' privates? And Gopi's little 11-year-old girls make the best wives? And the gopis were 11 years old, and their breasts were full, and their hips were wide, and all this shit in their books. And we're surprised that there's friggin' lawsuits against these people for child molestation and gurus falling down left and right, molestation and sex and this and running off with underage girls. Is there anyone surprised that this is happening? When you know what's going on in their books, when you know what's going on in their teachings, when you know what kind of man the founder was, when you know what he did, when you know the history of this guy and not their fucking fantasy land world of Prabhupada Rita, Leelam Rita, whatever, their imaginary world where he can get on a on a freighter and have 2 major heart attacks and live in the middle of the ocean. Because Krishna came down and saved him. In the same way that every Hare Krishna has these magical mystery tour stories about how they did this and did that. And then I was a vegetarian at age 12, and then I went off to Europe and to travel and renounce everything while I had my Euro pass. I renounced everything but my Euro pass because, I got to have my Euro pass. In ISKCON, there's no such thing as an advanced bhakta, only a good brainwashed servant. Yeah, you got to be a good brainwashed servant. Like me, as soon as I questioned Prabhupada with his 11-year-old wife, because I had never heard that story before. The official story is he was like 16, and she was 16, or she was 14, he was 16, but they didn't have sex until they were of age. I don't know where that story came from, but that's like the official story. But then, you're reading the letters or you're reading the conversations book, and you get to the conversation, you get to the morning walk, where Prabhupada says, my wife was 11, I was 22, my wife was 11, and then, she cried a little bit, but hey, after a while, she stopped crying after a while. As soon as that became, then whoa, Prabhu, you're an offender. You're an offender. You're can't have that. This man was the epitome of delusion of the grandeur. He absolutely was. He was just another cult leader, like David Koresh, like Jim Jones, like Charlie Manson, like L. Ron Hubbard, like Rajneesh, like all of them. He's one of them. He's another one. He's L. Ron Hubbard for friggin' Hindus. Okay? He's L. Ron Hubbard for Hindus. Scientology is Hare Krishna for nerds. That's all it is. It's the same shit. I heard an interview, he said it was their karma. Okay, so they want to say that it was their kids' karma because everything's karma, right? Everything's karma. That's a disgusting thing to say to a fucking 6-year-old kid who's just been raped, and to tell that little kid, well, it's karma, it's your fault, you did something in your past life. That is a disgusting thing to say to a little kid that's just been raped. I don't know how anyone has got the friggin' nerve or the friggin', I don't know what it takes, the friggin' devil inside of them to sit there and look at a 6-year-old and say, you deserved to get raped and beat and tortured at 6 years old in Prabhupada's school. Something that you did. You deserved it. I mean, what kind of a monster would say that to a little 6-year-old girl that's just been raped? And for them to say, well, it was your karma, and it was your karma, you must have done something in your past. I mean, what monster would say that to a little girl that's just been raped by some guru? That's a serious question. What kind of monster would say that to a little girl that's just been raped by some guru? You say, "Oh, that was your karma. I'm sorry, but you deserved it. It was your karma. You deserved it. You did something. You did something in your past life." I can't believe that there are people that say that, and they all say that. They have to say that. What are they going to say? The only other thing is, yeah, Hare Krishna is a bunch of bullshit. Mike's right. The chanting doesn't do anything. Prabhupada never should have opened that school. He never should have put those people in charge. He had no business creating a school. It wasn't certified. It wasn't legal. Those people weren't teachers. They were friggin' freaks. You put a bunch of freaks in charge of a bunch of kids, you're going to end up with a $400 million sexual abuse lawsuit. What else do you expect? Yes, he said they did the same in the past life. That's why they've been abused. That's a monster that says that. That's a fucking monster. That's a fucking monster. The little girl is crying and she's been raped. She's been sexually abused, tortured, raped by some guy who claims to be the pure devotee of God. And you're going to sit there and the little girl's crying and you're going to say, "Oh, it's okay, because you did something in your past life to cause this. This is really your fault. It's because you did something that you can't remember you did. But you did something. I guarantee it." Who would do that? I mean, I can't imagine the fucking monster that would do that to a little girl. I mean, it's bad enough when an abuser smacks their wife around and goes, "If you wouldn't have yelled at me, I never would have hit you. If you would have just listened to me, I wouldn't have got mad. If you wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't have had to smack you." That's the same mentality. Oh, you caused this. You made me hit you. You tell these little kids it's their fault that they got raped by the guy that was in charge of their school? The fuck? But that's what they do. And then they turn around and go, well, 11-year-old girls, that's when women look their most beautiful, is when they're a child. You got something wrong with you, buddy. If you think a grown woman, that an 11-year-old girl is more beautiful than a grown woman, you're a pedophile, dude. You're a pedophile. That's it. Jitaratri, you're a pedophile. Damagosh, you're a pedophile. You like 11-year-old girls. You think 11-year-old girls are more beautiful than a grown woman in your eyes. And you're hanging out with people that have been convicted of sex with or debauchery with a 12-year-old girl. Because they weren't going to let him rape her. They busted the door down and stopped him from raping her. So they couldn't get him for rape. They would have had to have waited. Right? It was like To Catch a Predator. It was like a Chris Hansen type thing. It was To Catch a Predator. They knew he was doing it. And they called the police and they said, "Hey man, he just took 2 little girls into his thing," and the police went there. Now they're not going to wait for him to rape the girl. So they went in and stopped it. So they couldn't really get him for rape, but they got him for intent. These are the people that they hang around with. Get them out of jail, go party with them on their farm. make them guru, let them lecture and act like they're holy man. Prabhupada, the most compassionate guru for the fallen Jiva. Hey, the big piece of shit, man. So, so that brings up a good point. You know, you guys making comments about Prabhupada and being the most compassionate guru, and you know, he was a self-made God, and he's a pure devotee, and he's all that. And there was a video I wanted to show because it talks about it's Knitting Cult Lady, of course, my favorite. She has a really good video about how the cult leader becomes God or becomes deified. And here it is. And I want you to see it because it's really good. Let's see if we can get this going here.
The deification of idiosyncrasy, which is our human desire to make excuses for the non-excusable behavior of our cult leaders. The comment here says, can you talk about identity fusion and how followers will rationalize anything the leader does? And that is what we see in cults. And by the way, this is my third rule of cults. My first rule of cults, as I tell you in Uncultured, is the first rule of cults is you're never in a cult. Second rule of cults I learned from watching the Harry Meghan saga, or I put into words. The second rule of cults is the cult will forgive any sin except the sin of leaving. And then the third rule of cults I put into words with Donald Trump, even if he did it, doesn't mean he's guilty, and he'll never have to pay. This is going to be from Cult Baby the Musical, veterans included. And at the end of this little cell block tango parody song I'm going to give you in music, it's the deification of idiosyncrasy, and you'll never have to pay. Just because I really need to make that a household term. And so we have seen deification of idiosyncrasy play out with Donald Trump since the day he became a candidate for political office. And things that he says, such as, I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they would still vote for me. That is part of him deifying himself. And that is part of the deification of idiosyncrasy, right? Even if I did this horrible thing, y'all wouldn't turn from me. Because our ability to rationalize anything as humans is very, very impressive. However, this is why the Epstein list, being the crack and the brainwashing, is so, so very important, right? Because the mission, the transcendent mission, save the children, that's what kept them going. That's what got them to push past everything. That's what let them make him their leader and then attempt to rationalize his irrational behavior. It was all because of this mission that they were supposedly following, supposedly trying to achieve. So I expect to see a lot of the deification blinders coming off now. And by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, deification means becoming godlike. And there is a chapter in Uncultured, well, part of chapter 2, not in Uncultured, in Culting of America, my second baby, due date January 20th. There is a part of chapter 1, about the charismatic leader, about the road to deification, the things that a leader does when he goes from just charismatic leader to cult leader, and how he turns himself godlike to the followers. Super, super, super crucial to understand. Hopefully, we start seeing a lot of cracks in that deification, because of course, it's always a lie. He's not actually a god. I'm Daniela, scholar of cults, extreme groups, and extremely bad leadership. You can read my first book, Uncultured, about growing up in the Children of God religious cult and going into the cult of the U.S. Army. Signed copies attached here. You can also listen to me read it to you on Spotify Premium or anywhere else you get your audiobooks. So this is one of my favorite.
Okay, so of course she's great, and she's right on. Of course, she's always right on. And I mentioned this before, but of course I didn't use the term that she has the deification of idiosyncrasy when we make excuses for the inexcusable. But I did mention how Prabhupada brought his Jewish head leader, his Jewish leaders like Hridayananda, and Tamal Krishna, and these other Rameshwar, and all these others who are obviously Jewish background. And then he starts talking about how Hitler was a great man. And then asking them, what do you think? Challenging them. And I said, challenging them in a challenging way. Like, here, I'm saying Hitler was a great man, and you guys know that Hitler, what do you think of Hitler? So he was actually challenging them. It was the deification of he was becoming, like, I can shoot someone on Fifth Avenue. I can tell you Jewish boys, that Hitler was a great man, and you're not going to say anything. You're not going to challenge me on that. You're not going to challenge me. You're going to accept it. You're going to accept everything I say. There are many times when he did that. When those two devotees came in and said, "Hey, explain to us how Bali Maharaj could have 4 billion servants." And Prabhupada said, "Look, if you don't just accept it, you can just get the fuck out. I'm not going to explain it to you. It says it in the books. I said it, and that's the way it is. And you accept it, or you can go." And that was it. And that's the deification of idiosyncrasy. And in his books, he talks about how the pure devotee this and the pure devotee that, and the pure devotee is coming directly from God. Talks with Krishna, sees Krishna face to face, all of these things. He's talking about himself. No one ever went up to Prabhupada and said, "Hey, who's this pure devotee you're talking about in your books?" Prabhupada's talking about himself. Anantarupa, along with his group of monitors, were known to be sexually abusing children in the Brahman Gurukula. He does stuff to young boys you wouldn't believe in a porn industry. Yeah, I know. I've heard all those things, and when I hear it from people that I don't know, like you come in the chat and you go, "Hey, this, I know about this," and I'm like, "Oh my God, you know about that too." I'm telling you, sometimes the stuff that I repeat, or the stuff that I read, or the stuff that I hear, or the stuff that I've known, I've heard, I can't believe that it's real. When they say that every kid in the school was abused, they mean every kid in the school was abused. Kids were abusing, teachers were abusing kids, and kids were abusing other kids. You know what a fucking, just out of control fucking insane asylum that was? How those kids are traumatized for life living through that? Okay, I don't know if you guys know, but there is this kid. His name was Dwarkadish. And he was abused really bad. And I forget the story about him. I'd have to really jog my brain because but I met the guy. He lived in LA. He was a little kid, and he had a story. I forget the story. I can't think of it now. It's just I just can't think of it. But he has a story, and he was anyway. He was living in L.A. like about a block from the L.A. Temple. When I was at the L.A. Temple, and I met him, and I think he wanted to buy some marijuana from me. He wanted to buy some weed from me. Or he asked me if I could get him some. Through someone else, like through another person, because this kid was so messed up. He wasn't a kid. He was a grown adult. He was 30 something. He was a little younger than me. I was like 35. He was like 30. He was like 30 or something. I think he was a Prabhupada. I think he was like, there's pictures of him with Prabhupada. I think that's why he is like famous, because he was like this little kid and he was in all these pictures with Prabhupada. But he ended up being abused in the schools. He ended up like having this horrific life, like this horrific childhood, incredibly abused, incredibly tormented, psychologically, physically, mentally, everything. And he lived like a hermit in this little apartment on about a block from the L.A. Temple, and he never came out. He never came out of his apartment. I never saw him out of his apartment. In fact, I only talked to him through his window. It was one of those like one of those old school drug type things where it was like, knock on the window, hey, are you in there? And then he'd be like, yeah, I'm over here. And then I'd be like, oh, psh. And it was like a friend of mine was like, hey, can you get some weed for this kid, for Dwarkadish? And I was like, who? He's like, yeah, Dwarkadish. And then I was like, yeah, I'll get him some weed, because there was another devotee that sold weed. There was another Hare Krishna devotee that was selling weed around the corner from all of us. I don't know why Dwarkadish didn't know, but anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But I was like, yeah, I can get it from what's his name, from Hari whatever, and give it to Dwarkadish. It was a big deal. And he's like, yeah. So then he took me to Dwarkadish's apartment, and this kid was messed up. I mean, he wouldn't come out of his apartment. He never left his apartment. He never went to the temple. He never went to it. I never saw him ever. Not at Rath Yatra, not at the temple, not on a Sunday, not ever, and never saw him. Ever. In the 20 years I never saw him. I only talked to him through his window. And it was like one time. It was like one time I got him some weed from another devotee, and I took it over to him and put it through his window. But I think that one transaction was like I had to go meet him, get the money, go get it, go back, meet him, and then go back and then like meet him again for whatever reason. So I saw him, I talked to him like 4 times in that one thing, and he was just like, he was like a Hare Krishna Pee Wee Herman type thing. He reminded me of Pee Wee Herman, just his voice, and just the whole kind of situation was like Pee Wee's Big Adventure. But the kid was really messed up. And he wasn't a kid, he was an adult, but he was really messed up. He was really messed up from this cult. And that's just one example. That's just one example of a kid who lived through that, and it was just completely broken as a human being. I mean, completely broken as a human being. Could not interact with anybody. Didn't have any kind of a social life. Didn't have any kind of a life at all. He was just living in this apartment, and just, I don't know. He's probably on disability. He's probably mentally unable to, That is heavy duty shit that this cult put kids through. Like I said, he's not the only one. He was the one that had all these pictures taken with Prabhupada because he was a little baby. He was a baby. with Prabhupada. He was like one of the first kids, I guess, that was born. He was probably one of the first kids that was born in the movement. And I think that's why he was, and he ended up being fucked up as a kid. I heard Premananda Prabhu and Radha Kunj ashram and his ashram on saffron monkeys who abuse children and abuse women for being repressed. There's so many wackos. I mean, seriously, if you're doing this for any amount of time, your brain is mush. Your brain is mush. You believe all kinds of weird shit. The weirder the shit, the more proud they are. Like a demon head eating the moon. I remember when I challenged a friend of mine and I said he was saying something about, he was repeating some crazy thing that Prabhupada says in a book. Something about pigeons can fly between planets or something. Like there's some bird. There's some bird that Prabhupada says can fly between planets. It can fly. It goes. There's a bird. I think I'm not sure if it's I forget what kind of bird it is. One of you might know. You can tell me what bird it is. It can fly. It goes into outer space and it can fly to other planets and it flies back and forth. I'm not making this up. Prabhupada says it. And this guy was telling me about it. He's like, yeah, Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita, that the birds, there's one type of bird that can fly. It goes into orbit like the space shuttle, and it can go and it can fly to other planets. And I said to him, that's not. And he got mad. He got really mad. He got mad at me. Like, don't offend Prabhupada like that. You can't do that. You can't do that. I'm like, what are you talking? I had no bird fly but planet. What are you, crazy? Giri Dari Maharaj. These guys. Gurus, man. Gurus. Like she said, like Knitting Cult Lady said, they're not godlike. They don't have any qualities. They're not pure devotees. Maharaj, mini brain, Maharaj. Like this Gaurahari Das. He's got this Zoom meeting, and all his followers go in there, and they all call him Guru Dev and Maharaj, and he sits there, and he's just like, "What are you doing, man? You fucking ding dong, fucking." And I popped in there because I was like, what am I missing with this guy? And he's like, I don't believe in rounds. It's just you just chant, and he's like no rules, and he's like once you feel the taste of Krishna, Prem, whatever, and you don't need this. Well, then if that's true, then I don't even need to chant. I don't need to chant at all. I can just say that I feel it. Why can't I just say I'm pure devotee and I feel it and I'm transcendental and why don't you believe me? I mean, you want me to believe that Prabhupada came to you in a dream. Why is it so hard to believe that I'm pure devotee too? Seriously. If he seriously wants people to believe, well, Prabhupada came to me in a dream and I'm guru and I read Chaitanya. Why don't you believe me when I say I'm pure devotee too? It makes as much sense, doesn't it? Doesn't it make just as much sense? That I'm self-real. I mean, if Prabhupada can come to you in a dream and now you're self-realizing, I don't even need the dream. How about that? I'm more advanced than you because you needed Prabhupada in a dream. I don't even need a fucking dream. I'm just automatically self-realized because I just say I am. I don't need a dream to tell me something that I already know I am. I already know I'm pure devotee. What do I need Prabhupada to come to me in a dream for? You see how stupid all this shit is? It's all a bunch of fucking bullshit. Ain't none of it makes sense. A good enough guru, a Ritvik, he's good enough. He's good enough to do the sacrifice, and he's good enough to say the hymns, and he's good enough to get you all that stuff, but he's not really good enough? Which is it? Is he good enough? Or is he not good enough? Because you're telling me that he's good enough to do this, but he's not good enough to do that. Well, why not? What's missing? And if something's missing, then why do I want him anyway? Why would I want a good enough guru when I can get a really good guru? It doesn't make sense. None of this shit makes sense. It just doesn't make sense no matter how you slice it. It just doesn't make sense. Especially the ISKCON. Now, you might have some other, other things that people are on a spiritual path. Personally, I don't buy it. But somebody else may be on a spiritual path, and they're not in a pedophile cult. They don't think that 11-year-old girls are, make the best wives. They don't believe that black people belong in the jungles and are ugly and whatever. They don't believe that Hitler was a gentleman. They don't believe all this stuff. And they're really trying to be pure, and they're really trying to connect. Fine. I ain't got no problem. What do I care? But these guys, come on, man. Come on. You Hare Krishnas out there. I know. I can see how many people are watching, and I know I don't have that many. I don't have that many people that are watching that like me. So I know at least half of you viewers out there right now, at least half of you people out there watching right now are Hare Krishnas. I know it. There's at least 4 or 5 of you watching me right now. Yeah, the fuck is wrong with you people, man? I'm being honest with you. If you're a Hare Krishna, if you're one of you guys is left, if you Hare Krishnas are like for real, man, you gotta be asking yourself some questions. That's why the one guy left. He's like, I can't deal with this. You gotta be asking yourself some questions, man. Seriously, you gotta ask yourself some questions, man. Is there really a demon head eating the moon during the eclipse? Doesn't that sound kind of funny? Oh, no, Prabhu, it's spiritual. It's spiritually eating the moon. Oh, it's spiritually eating the moon. Okay, explain that to me. Explain that to me like I'm 5, okay? How does an invisible demon head eat the moon spiritually? Because the moon's a real thing. And if it's eating it for real. Or is it not eating it for real? Because the moon is for real. The moon's real. So tell me how this invisible demon head is eating the real moon spiritually. And I see explain that bullshit to me. You can't. You can't do it. Sri Dayananda wants to say, explain to me how I can't wear sewn clothes on the altar. Explain to me scientifically why I can't wear clothes that's been sewn with a needle on the altar. But he's not asking for no scientific evidence for a demon head eating the moon. And that guy went to Harvard. That's a Harvard fucking guy. And you want me to believe that he went to Harvard and he don't know, he thinks that there's a demon head eating the moon? Now, I have to, because I'm a normal person, right? I'm a normal person. I'm not in the cult, so I am a normal person. I have to look at Sri Dayananda and go, he went to Harvard, but he says that he believes there's a demon head eating the moon. So there's only 2 explanations for that. He's a dumb shit. Well, no, they're not dumb shit. He knows there's no demon head eating the moon, and he's just going along with it because that's what he wants to do. But he knows there's no demon head eating the moon. The guy went to Harvard. So that explanation makes the most sense to me. He knows there's no demon head eating the moon. But in order for him to play guru and cosplay and do his LARPing, he has to say that there's a demon head eating the moon. In the same way, I know that we landed on the moon. But when I was around my Hare Krishna friends and they were all talking about how the moon landing wasn't real, I just went along with them. Because it was become an argument. It become a. You're an offender, Prabhu. Prabhupada says we didn't land on the moon. We didn't land on the moon. So in order to avoid that, I was just like, all right, whatever. We didn't land on the moon. I know we landed on the moon, but I'll go along with we didn't land on the moon just so that we don't get into an argument. But you can only do that for so long. But that's why Hiri Dayananda says. That's why Sri Dayananda can sit there and say, explain to me scientifically why I can't wear a shirt on the altar, but he has no question about why there's a demon head eating the moon. Because he knows there's no demon head eating the moon. Because he'd have to apply that same logic and say, show me scientifically why there's a demon head eating the moon. Because I could just say, well, the scientific reason is spiritual. Why you can't wear a shirt on the altar. It's spiritual. Just like the moon is spiritual. The demon head is spiritual. Sri Dayananda is smart enough to know that. He went to Harvard. I'm not smarter than him. Well, I'm smarter than him because I know there's no demon head eating the moon. But I'm not smarter than him as far as having a fucking degree from Harvard. He knows that there's no demon head eating the moon. He knows he can't apply the same logic as to why I can't wear a shirt on the altar. Explain to me scientifically why I can't wear a shirt on the altar. But he doesn't ask scientifically, explain to me how there's a demon head eating the moon. Explain to me scientifically how Bali Maharaj had 4 billion servants. No, because Prabhupada already explained. If you question Bali Maharaj having 4 billion servants, you get the fuck out. Prabhupada nipped that shit in the bud. Prabhupada said, you don't come and ask me and challenge me and tell me how does the moonlight make the vegetables taste good, or how does a swan separate milk from water, or how does Krishna get from Barsana to Govardhan in walking. Don't ask me all these things. How a demon head is eating the moon. You have to accept it. And if you can't accept it, then you get the fuck out. Prabhupada made that clear. Yeah, I'm not explaining this shit to you. You either believe me, accept it, or done. Go. Demon heads eating the moon. Gurus going to Harvard and getting degrees. Sri Dayananda, as soon as he went to Harvard and got his degree, he should have said, if he had really learned anything, he would have said, fuck this stupid cult. There's no fucking demon head eating the moon. This guy's going to sit there and lecture me about reality, being a good person, truthfulness, austerity, and what the fuck? The fucking idiot doesn't even know that there's no fucking demon head eating the moon. He's going to tell me? He's going to try and explain shit to me? I mean, come on. Paramananda Prabhu at Radhakunj Vrindavan claimed he is above others Krishna cults because his guru Narayana Maharaj claimed he was the real Prabhupada successor. No, I'm the real successor. I'm the real Prabhupada. Me. Why can't I be? Why can't I be the real successor? Gaurahari says he's the real successor. Jaya Potato Head says he's the real successor. Lokanath says he's the successor. Indrayumna Swami says he's the successor. Why can't I be the successor? I'm the real successor. I'm the one speaking the absolute truth. I'm the one telling you like it is. I'm the one that's up here spilling the beans. Well, how come I'm not the real successor? I'm the real successor. Fuck that. Sri Mukunda. I know these guys, all these guys, Narayan Maharaj and Ban Maharaj and so many. So many. Who cares? They all think that they're the successor. Well, what did Narayan Maharaj ever do? What the fuck did that guy ever do? What did any of these guys do? I kind of look like Narayan Maharaj. All the Narayan Maharaj people have to wear a beard. And all the Prabhupada people don't wear a beard. Because Prabhupada didn't have a beard. And Narayan Maharaj did have a beard. So if you have a beard, then you're with Narayan Maharaj, and if you don't have a beard, then you're with Prabhupada. How fucking stupid is that? I gotta look like my guru. I gotta look like him, I gotta talk like him, I gotta act like him. Fucking stupid shit. But the biggest egos I've seen in my life, they bow down to new saffron celibate monks who join and then worship them just to keep disciples. It's quite disgusting. So I had this friend, of course, I talk about him all the time, Radhakunda Das. Radhakunda Das was Slim Shady, and he was Bhaktish Slim Shady. He was a real character, man. This guy was shady, right? If you had to check your fingers after you shook his hand because he might be missing a couple. So he was really a shady guy, and he was the kind of guy who was like, oh, I joined in 1975, so I'm your senior godbrother, so you need to offer your obeisances to me. Like, who are you? You just took me to a strip club. Why am I offering obeisances to you? You took me to a strip club. I almost got my ass kicked by a bouncer because you didn't want to pay the girl. And you think that you're something special and I'm going to fucking worship your feet? What the fuck is that? Who the fuck are you? One minute we're in a hotel in Bangkok and we're doing crystal meth and smoking weed, and the next minute you want me to bow down and worship your feet? Because you think that because you joined in 1975, that somehow you are a holy man all of a sudden? In my eyes? Get the fuck out of here. What do you got to be out of your fucking mind? You out of your fucking mind. Talk about big ego. You almost get me killed in a fucking strip club in Bangkok, and now you want me to fucking get down and worship your feet like you're a fucking holy man? Get the fuck out of here. Oh, God, you're the same. Hey, Raphael, how you doing, man? Good to see you. It's so good to see you in here. And how sad. I feel bad for the kid. Four regular principles: do not consume intoxicating substances products. Will probably snuffed in his room at night. Yeah, that was a major crack, and that was a crack that formed when I first went to Vrindavan, and I saw his little snuff box on. They have like a what do you call it? Like a cabinet with all his Prabhupada's, all his personal belongings are in there, like his razor and his comb and, his snot rag and his socks and whatever. He's got all his little things in there. and his little snuff box, and it says Prabhupada's snuff box right there. It's sitting right there on the thing. And I'm looking, and Radha Kun and I are standing there. I'm standing right next to Radha Kun, and we're both looking at it. And I go, what is that? And he goes, oh, that's Prabhupada's snuff box. And I was like, Prabhupada's doing snuff? He's like, oh, yeah. You know, Tamal Krishna wrote about it in his book. Tamal Krishna says in his book that, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, well, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe snuff is an intoxicant. I believe that you get high from that. Like, it's like, you know, like, it's like, you know, and he's like, hey, don't be, no. Prabhupada did it for medical reasons. Medical reasons, right? I didn't know snuff was a prescribed medicine. I didn't know. Homing pigeons flying between planets for the FBI and CIA. It's not pigeons. I think it's another type of bird that can fly between planets. I can't remember. Stockholm syndrome. Yeah, it's a little bit of Stockholm syndrome, and it's a lot of just not wanting to kill the goose that lays the golden egg. Serena Eagle, is that what it is? Is that that's the bird that can fly between planets? The eagle, right? It's some kind of it's a bird, and it's crazy. Can someone explain how did Prabhupada and Narayan Maharaj, Bhaktivinoda Thakur conceive children immaculate? No, they just had sex. They had sex. See, that's the deification of idiosyncrasy. They can have sex and still be, probably can do snuff, and he's still pure devotee. He can have sex with an 11-year-old girl, and he's still a pure devotee. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, I don't know, he had like a bunch of kids, right? I don't know how many kids he had. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur ate meat, but he's still a pure devotee. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was, you know, he had all these kids. He was still a pure devotee. So again, that's the deification of the idiosyncrasy. They can do anything because they are godlike. Just like when the devotees would ask Prabhupada, why, well, Jesus ate meat, and he said, well, Jesus can eat anything he wants. He's God. He can do whatever he wants. He's God. So Prabhupada could do snuff. Prabhupada could do whatever he wanted. You can't, but Prabhupada could. Prabhupada could have sex with an 11-year-old girl at 22 years old. That's Vedic. It's Vedic. Having sex with an 11-year-old girl is Vedic if you're a 22-year-old man. Pure devotees, yes. The pure devotee can do that because he's pure. He's always pure. Just like, probably gives the example, just like a lily pad. It's like a lily pad is in the water, but it's not wet. It's not touched. It's in the water, but it's not wet. So it's not contaminated. In the same way, the pure devotee is acting in the material world, but he's not touched by it. So while he's engaging in sexual activities, he's not contaminated by the sexual activity. See, I can explain this shit. I'm not playing around. I know my shit. I was in it for 20 years. I know what I'm talking about. I'm not. It's a fundamentalist take on mythology. It's an extremist take on reality, is what it is. It's cosplay. It's cosplay. It's cosplay. It's LARPing. It's LARPing. What is that? Something in real life? I asked the same question once. Only be told not to worry about how gurus conceive children. They are not tainted by lust like us. They say these things, yet they say these are pure devotees. Yeah, they're not. They're not touched by the material world. That's how Ramananda Roy could bathe and massage these young girls and even touch their private parts. And he was like, to him, it was like touching stone or wood. He was not, and if you believe that, I got some timeshares that I sell you really cheap. That's how they try to explain it. My spiritual path is enjoying good music, coffee, food, books, and a positive, good community who dabbles in Santeria or hoodoo. Yeah, my spiritual path right now is pretty much good music, coffee, food, books, a little internet cruising, a little bashing the Krishna cults, and a little Buddhism. I mean, I don't practice Buddhism, but I'm in a Buddhist country where everybody's Buddhist, and you know what? This is the best. Everybody's so peaceful, and everybody's so peaceful and truthful and honest, and just everything that Hare Krishnas are not. I'm just being honest. Pure devotees, they can do anything and be an idiot or a freaking psycho and still be given title of Mirage. Mini brains, that is their logic and belief. Yeah, they can do anything. Just, I go back to my friend Radhakund. He could do anything. He could do all kinds of nonsense. When I say all kinds of nonsense, I just mean, go get high, drink beer, smoke weed, smoke cigarettes, have illicit sex, break every regular principle Monday through Friday. And then on Sunday, he'd go to the temple and sit on the Vyasasana and give a lecture as if he's a holy man and talk about how doing all those things are wrong and how we need to chant Hare Krishna to fight those things and not be tempted to drink beer and smoke weed and have sex and gamble and all this. And I'm sitting there like, dude, I'm like, you got some balls, man, because I would never sit there and do that. I don't have it in me to smoke weed and have a girlfriend and be having sex and with others, and then go sit on the Vyasasana in the temple and start lecturing as if I'm not doing anything. I can't play that game. I can answer the phone and say, hey, this is American Express, how can I help you? And bullshit my way through that call. That I can do. I bullshit my way through an American Express call or, Viking River, thanks for calling Viking River Cruises, how can I help you? I bullshit my way through that. But sit on a Vyasasana and sit there and act like I'm Sri Mukunda Maharaj, and I'm not gonna tell you about the intricacies and complexities of Krishna consciousness as performed in the modern age. No, I'm not gonna do that. But Radhakund, oh yeah, he could do it. He could go have sex with farm animals and then come back and sit there and talk about how illicit sex is horrible and you need to chant Hare Krishna so you don't have illicit sex. That's and Radhakunda is not the exception. He's just another one. You're thinking that, Radhakunda, that's Radhakunda. No, that's everybody. How do you have a homosexual guru live in an apartment with two boys in his apartment, living with two boys in his apartment? And the guy's gay as a $3 bill. And he's sitting in the temple giving lectures. Don't question him though, because the deification of idiosyncrasy. He's a guru. You can't question what he's doing with those two boys in his apartment, even though he's as gay as a fucking as gay as a lady boy on fucking Walking Street. He's got two boys living with him. He's got two boys with him. And he said, well, you can't just assume that because he's gay and he's got two boys living with him and he's a Hare Krishna guru that he's having sex. You can't just assume that. No, I can't. But I am. I asked Radhanath Swami, and he can't even answer me those types of questions. The moment you ask logical and rational questions, none of them could answer honestly and truthfully. Because their whole house of cards will fall down. Because then they have to be honest with themselves. You know, you have that moment where you're like, ooh, wait a minute. You know, like that moment where you're like, well, you know, Prabhupada wasn't no pure devotee. Well, shit, if Prabhupada wasn't no pure devotee, then all of this shit falls apart. Because it's all based on, like Knitting Coat Lady said, there's a mission. There's the transcendent mission. The mission is that Prabhupada is the pure devotee guru that everyone needs to surrender to. And that is the solution to the problems of life, is that we need to surrender to the bona fide spiritual master, which is Prabhupada. And we surrender to Prabhupada through his bona fide representative or his books. That's the transcendent message. That's what keeps everybody working, the books going, the churning, the Sankirtan, the temples opening, everybody just grinding away. That's the mission, is spread Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada's pure devotee. Spread Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada's pure devotee. So when you just pull that rug and say, Prabhupada's no pure devotee, Prabhupada's no pure devotee. He had sex with an 11-year-old girl when he was 22 years old. That ain't pure. He didn't give a fuck about those kids. That ain't pure. He didn't give a shit about those kids. He didn't give a shit about women. He said women have small brains, like to be raped. What the fuck is that? How is that? He said black people are ugly and belong in the jungles and didn't deserve freedom. He said homosexuals are demoniac and mentally ill and farted out the ass of Lord Brahma. He doesn't sound very pure to me. Unless you want to change the definition of pure, where pure now means asshole. If you want to change that, well then yeah, okay, well, you got a pure devotee. But, you know, if pure means, you know, unadulterated, then Prabhupada was definitely fucked up. There's no pure devotee. There's no such thing as a pure devotee. Prabhupada didn't see demigods coming down when Sankirtan was going on. Prabhupada didn't see friggin' pastimes. He didn't see Krishna face to face. Prabhupada wasn't sitting there in no friggin' ecstasy. He may have been happy, feeling good, just like somebody does when they're at a Taylor Swift concert, or at the frickin' Philharmonic listening to friggin' their favorite Mozart piece. That's what Prabhupada was doing. He was like, well, I really enjoy this Krishna. He wasn't in no fucking transcendental realm or any kind of transcendental bliss or any fucking nonsense like that. He didn't do any of that. Any more than Radha Kunda was. Any more than any of these guys. Are you going to tell me that these guys were raping little kids and molesting little kids and beating them and torturing them and then turning around and going and sitting on the Vyasasana and giving a lecture, and they were somehow now fucking pure? Or what, you think Kirtananda was a pure devotee while he's raping little boys? You think Bhavananda was a pure devotee while he was... No, of course not. You think Trivikram, 60 years chanting Hare Krishna, he's a pure devotee, and now he's having sex with getting his disciple knocked up and whatever. Does that sound pure? Does that sound like a pure devotee? Prabhupada saying, I didn't love my wife? You couldn't even love your wife? You couldn't even put the effort in to fall in love with your wife? No, because he didn't give a fuck. He wanted to be a fucking cult leader. He wanted to be fucking write his books and have everybody fall down and worship his goddamn feet. He was too busy doing that, thinking about that, than to have a loving relationship with his wife. Fuck that. Raise my kids? Well, be a dad? Fuck that. I got books to write. I got a cult to create. I'm a pure devotee. Fucking disgusting, man. And they want justice for this guy? Justice for this guy? Man, Goloka Vrindavan. I think Prabhupada said we did and didn't land on the moon. There's many examples of contradictions in his books. Prabhupada says we didn't go to the moon because the moon is a heavenly planet and we can't go to the heavenly planets. Period. He said if they went somewhere, they went to a different planet. They went to the invisible Rahu planet. They may have gone there, he said. They didn't go to the moon. Prabhupada says we did not go to the moon. The moon is a heavenly planet. We cannot go to the heavenly planets. We're not allowed to go to the heavenly planets. There's many places where Prabhupada says we did not go to the moon. Now, there are contradictions where he says, well, you know, maybe not. He says we did not go to the moon. But yeah, there are contradictions where he says, well, you know. But he says Prabhupada says they may have gone to the invisible planet that they can't see. They didn't go to the planet that we can see. They may have landed on an invisible planet that they didn't know was there, and they accidentally landed on the invisible planet. But the planet that they wanted to go to, that they can see, that they didn't go to. That's Prabhupada's logic. And the other logic is Sunday comes before Monday. That's why we didn't go to the moon, because Sunday comes before Monday. And you can look that up. Prabhupada says that over and over. We did not go to the moon because Sunday comes before Monday. It's Earth, Sun, Moon. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's not Monday, Sunday. It's Sunday, Monday. That's Prabhupada logic for you. That was Prabhupada's number one example for why we did not go to the moon. Because Sunday comes before Monday. That's your pure devotee for you. That's the guy that you get down and bow down and wash his feet and throw flowers at him and all that other shit. Fucking idiot like that. Sunday comes before Monday. That's why we didn't go to the moon. If Monday came before Sunday, then the moon would be closer than the sun. But it doesn't. It's Sunday and then Monday. That's the genius of the pure devotee, okay? They tell you have diarrhea of the brain if you don't understand this nonsense. Yeah, they tell you, when you first start out, they go, well, if you don't understand it and you don't believe in it, just put it to the side and you'll get it later. Because they want the brainwashing to work. They want you to get to the point where the deification of idiosyncrasy happens, where you go, oh, Prabhupada's a pure devotee. He's godlike. He can do anything. He can see past, present, future. He can see through you and he can know your desire. He can see into your soul. He can see demigods. He can see Lord Chaitanya. He can see Krishna face to face. He can see all these things. He's a pure devotee. When you get to that standard, when that hits, the deification of idiosyncrasy, when it dawns on you that Prabhupada's the pure devotee, you have to believe everything. You believe it all. We didn't land on the moon. Earth is flat, sitting on Mount Meru or whatever, the Golden Mountain. The elephants are rotating around to keep the earth from tipping over. And you believe in Hanuman flying with a mountain in his hand and stopping to take a leak because he had to take a leak, so he had Govardhan in his hand, and he's flying with Govardhan. He's flying to Lanka to put Govardhan in the ocean to build the land bridge between India and Lanka. And he's got Govardhan in his hand, and he's flying through the air. And he's got to take a leak. So he stops, and he puts Govardhan down in Vrindavan and takes a leak, and then Govardhan says, "No, I'm not moving. I'm staying right here." So they want you to believe that. And it's a nice story. I mean, it's a fun story, right? I mean, how often does a flying monkey have to take a leak and he puts the mountain down? I mean, that's a fun flying monkey takes a leak story. I mean, where else are you going to hear a flying monkey takes a leak story? And when I heard that story, I was like, that's a funny monkey takes a leak story. I've never heard a story about a flying monkey taking a leak before. And it's a fun story, but did it really happen? I mean, come on. Are we even having this discussion? They claim Narayana Maharaj sent Prabhupada his first mridanga when he got to the West. Yeah, they want to claim all kinds of stuff. You know, I actually had a pair of Prabhupada's shoes in my apartment that I got from Yashodanandan. Yashodanandan had a pair of Prabhupada's shoes, and he gave them to me. And I had them in my apartment on my altar right in front of my little Prabhupada Murti. I had Prabhupada's shoes. Had them there for a long time. And then somehow, I remember what it was. Prabhupada took those, Yashoda took those shoes back and gave them to Madhu Pandit or Chanchalapati or somebody gave them to him as like a gesture of friendship. And I was like, wait a minute, those are my, they weren't mine, but they were in my apartment, and they were in there for like years. I had them in there for like a couple of years. I just got used to seeing Prabhupada's shoes sitting in my apartment, and right there every day. I'd come down the stairs, and I'd walk, and I would see Prabhupada's shoes sitting there. And then he came over one day. We were having like a program, and we're all there, Nara Narayan and Yashodanandan, and we're all sitting there. And when the program was over, he goes, "I'm taking these." And I was like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to give them to Madhu Pandit," or I forget. I think it was Madhu Pandit. He goes, "Yeah, I'm going to give them to Madhu Pandit so he can take them to Bangalore, something." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I was at the time, you know, now it's stupid, but at the time I was really kind of sad. I was like, "Oh, probably the shoes are going. Oh, okay." And he took Prabhupada's shoes, and they were gone. But yeah, I heard the story about Narayan Maharaj sending Prabhupada his the mridanga drum. They had a weird relationship, the Narayan Maharaj. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I really don't know, you know, what was really going on between these two characters. Prabhupada was constantly contradicting himself and mistreating those who didn't agree with his nonsense. Yeah, Prabhupada contradicts himself a lot in his books. And he definitely definitely didn't want anybody challenging him. If you read the Conversations books, or you go online and you read the Conversations, and you just read through there, you get a pretty good idea Prabhupada was an asshole. When you read those Conversations, you get the pretty good idea that Prabhupada was not a nice guy. He wasn't a pleasant guy. Holy moly, baloney, Batman. Recording stuff on snuff is a challenge. Surely we'll lose a plot at one point, dude. You know, I believe that he really got into writing on snuff, and that's why he just repeats himself over and over again. I mean, he repeats the same stuff over and over, because there's only so much to Krishna consciousness. I mean, you know, the holy name, You know, the power of the holy name, the chanting, the 16 rounds, the 4 regulative principles, women have small brains. I mean, there's a finite amount of stuff in his books. It's just repeated over and over and over and over. And, you know, within all these different stories. So you got all these different stories, but within the stories, it's all the same stuff. It's all, you know, bhakti, surrender, spiritual master, pure devotee. It's the same stuff over and over and over and over. And that's why you get brainwashed. And that's why it happens fast, because it's just, it's to the point, and it's right there, and it's just over and over and over and over and over. I mean, by the time you get halfway through the Bhagavad Gita, man, you pretty much got it. By the time you're halfway through the Bhagavad Gita, you pretty much know what Krishna consciousness is. It's chanting, and it's the holy name, and it's Lord Chaitanya, and it's Krishna, and it's Radharani, and it's Balakuksha. I mean, you pretty much got it. And by the time you finish Bhagavad Gita, you're pretty much, if you stick with Bhagavad Gita all the way through to the end, you're pretty much, you're 60, 75% there. All you need now is just a little coaching, a little kneading, a little love bombing. It's over. Your next stop, India, milking a cow. And that's what happens. So, we've mentioned so many red flags that these idiots bypass. Yeah, it's, you know, and we all did. I did, you know, like the moon landing shit. And there was a bunch of stuff in the beginning that I was like, I don't get that shit. But I was told, well, don't worry about it. And don't worry about it. And you'll get it. Just don't worry about it. Just keep reading. And sure enough, you keep reading it, and then boom, all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's the pure devotee. Oh, Prabhupada's the pure devotee. Oh, Prabhupada's the pure devotee. Oh, now I get it. Bing, you're there. That's it. It's over. Goddamn cults. Yep. Serena Eagle. Yeah. That was another one. When I read that, you know, there's this eagle that there's a type of bird that can fly, that flies into outer space and goes between planets. And I was like, what are you talking? No. Don't be offensive. Prabhupada says it, then that's it. That's it. Don't be offensive. Don't be offensive. So upsetting. I swallow this complete bullshit. Prabhupada was the biggest fraud with the worst possible cutthroat cult using Vedic knowledge. He twisted the Gita to abuse and destroy humans. Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Me too. It's upsetting for me. I swallowed this bullshit, and you know, and I came into it. I didn't jump in like a Hare Krishna freak. I was like, I was very skeptical. Can you believe that? I was very skeptical. So I had met a Hare Krishna, and he gave me the Bhagavad Gita, and I read it, and I was like, wow, this is a really cool book. It's got some interesting things in it. I wasn't 100% hooked, but I was like I said, I was more than halfway there. I wanted to know more. So I was like, well, this is an interesting book. I want to know more. And then I went to the temple and started, you know, meeting more devotees and hearing more crap. And then eventually you get to that tipping point where you get to that point where you accept Prabhupada is a pure devotee. Boom. Then it's all over. You're all in there. For 20 years, I was in for 20 years. And just by a stroke of luck, Tattva Darshan. These guys went, and this whole thing blew up, and then I was out. I was done. I'm done. And once I was done, and I look back, well, at first, when I was done, I just left. I gotta get my. I was 20 years older, and I was like, I just lost 20 years of my life. I got no time to lose because I got no time to lose. I already lost it. The time I had to lose, I lost it. I gave it to them. So I got out of there thinking, I got no time to lose. I got to do something. I got to, what am I going to do now? So it took a good 10, 12 years for me to realize, I went through some shit. And these people are fucked up. And this is a fucked up cult. And they harm a lot of people. It took a whole decade for me to kind of just really realize what was going on or what had gone on. And then doing this is very therapeutic. Hey, I feel it. Good to see you here. Thanks for popping in, man. It's always great to see people from other chats and other streams all being together and coming together for one goal, which is ending these cults. So it's great. Thanks for coming in. I really appreciate it. It's really great. Genitotherapy. Oh man. So thanks for laughing at my jokes. Life is good. It's their goddamn doctrines that make you depressed and hopeless. These songs to destroy your self-esteem. It is such a sinister operation that they have going on, where they capitalize on just the human experience, just the experience of being a human, and turn it around and brainwash you into thinking that life really sucks. You suck as a person. Everyone around you sucks. And the only good thing is this chanting in this Krishna conscious cult. That's the only thing. You were happy before. You were just having about your pet died, or your grandma died, or you broke up with your girlfriend, or you got fired, or you're looking for a job, or whatever. Just the normal things of life. But they come along and they convince you that everything sucks and you're an evil person. And it's this chanting and everything that's gonna fix everything. It doesn't fix shit. How can it fix anything? How can it fix anything when this 84-year-old guru is having sex with his 35-year-old disciple and he gets her pregnant? I mean, come on. He's 84 and he's 84 years old. He wanted to get this girl pregnant? Come on. How did Krishna consciousness fix that? He would have been better off not being a Hare Krishna. He would have had a job. He would have got married, 40 years old, had a house, had a job, whatever, career. He'd be 84. He'd have grandkids. He'd be retiring. He'd be retired. He'd be done. No. Now he's 84 years old. He's got a 35-year-old disciple that's now going to be his wife. And he's going to have a baby if she's pregnant and she has a kid. How is an 84-year-old guru turned dad happy? How did Krishna consciousness solve all his problems? Sounds like they created problems for him. What a fucking mess that is. Life is good. They just preach that life is hellish to make you feel like doomsday. It's coming. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. This guy, 84 years old, and now he's got a baby coming. Maybe a baby's coming. With his 35, now he's forever going to be known as the guru who was 84 years old. And he had sex with his 35-year-old disciple And then he had a baby and he got married. What a joke. All he had to do was just not be a Hare Krishna. He could have had a wife at 30, kids, grandkids, great grandkids. He could have worked at American Express or Viking River Cruises. Been a travel agent. He could have done all this shit. No. Now he's gonna be an 84-year-old dad in India. What a fucking loser. What a fucking loser. Because Prabhupada convinced him in these fucking books 60, 70 years ago to read this fucking book and convinced him. And now look where it got him. Look where it fucking got him. Look where it got him. He's 84 years old. He's going to be a dad. He's going to have his own grandkid. He's going to have his own grandkid. I'm 63. I don't want no kid. Okay? I love kids. I don't want one. I had one. I raised her. She's a wonderful woman now. She's got her life. I don't need a kid. But if I'm an ISKCON guru and I'm 84 years old, maybe I could use a baby. I don't know. I don't know what's up with that. That's crazy. But I think we're going to end it here. It is funny, but if Gaura Haridas can be Srila Gaura Haridas, then I can be Sri Jagat Guru Sri Mukunda. It's Sri Mukunda. Sri Mukunda is the Sri is part of my name. So my name is not Mukunda Das. I'm not Mukunda Das. I'm Sri Mukunda Das because the Sri is part of my name. So if you really wanted to you could call me Sri Mukunda Das. If you wanted to, you could call me Sri Mukunda Das. But Sri Mukunda is my name. So it's Sri Mukunda Das. One day I'm going to come on here and I'm going to be shaved up and I'm going to have a kurta on. I'm going to have tilak on. I'm going to have beads and we're going to do the whole, and I'm going to give a class. I'm going to give a whole class and it's going to be a hell of a class, okay? Because I'm going to read from Bhagavad Gita or something and I'm going to read the purport and then I'm going to give you my purport. I'm going to give you my purport. So that's going to be something. So all you Hare Krishnas out there, get ready for that, okay? Yeah. So, lady boys are much better than you. Hey, lady boys are honest. You go up to a lady boy and you go, hey, are you a lady boy? And they go, I'm lady boy. And that's fine. But if you go up to ISKCON guru and you say, are you a scammer? And they go, no, I'm pure devotee. Fucking get out of here. Get out of here. I'll take the lady boy over a fucking fake guru anytime. Bedtime stories. Celibate monks beat women with broomsticks and harsh words. Now that I would go see. I would love to go see that. I would love to go see, the monks beat the women. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was the women beating the monks. I was going to say, I would go watch women beat the monks at this guy's ashram, but if it's the monks beating the women, then no, that ain't right. Prabhupada was Krishna himself, had delusions of grandeur. He was crooked as hell, and he was a real lusty beast. When I first got into Hare Krishna, and I had the Bhagavad Gita, and I read the Bhagavad Gita, and I was really transitioning into a Hare Krishna. I was cut my hair off, and I was wearing dhoti and kurta, and I had a Bhagavad Gita, and I gave it to my mother. And I was like, hey, Mom, I had a great relationship with my mother. I never shunned her. She never shunned me. There was never any family disconnection or any of that. So I had a really great relationship the whole time I was a Hare Krishna with my mom and dad. But I remember I gave my mom the Bhagavad Gita, and I was like, hey, Mom, hey, check this out, man. I'm really getting into this Hare Krishna thing. Check out this Bhagavad Gita. And then I didn't talk to her for a couple of days, and then I came back, and I was like, hey, did you read any of that? Because I wanted to talk to her about it. And she was like, yeah, I read that. And I was like, oh, what, you didn't like it? I was so disappointed that she didn't like it. She was like, no, I didn't like that. And I was like, why? Why didn't you like it? She said, well, all he talks about is sex. All he talks about is sex, 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 sex. And I just I got tired of reading about sex, and I don't want to read anymore. And I said, really? It's all about sex? And she was like, yeah, I mean, everything, he's always talking about sex. He's talking about sex. He's talking about sex. He's like, I got tired of that shit. I don't want to read about that. And I was like, oh, I'll have to go back and read it again. I didn't know it was, I didn't know. He was lusty for fame and power, but it was beyond material gain. He did. He absolutely did. He wanted to be like the Pope of the world. He wanted to be this religious leader, like the Dalai Lama, like the Pope, he wanted to be this world-renowned, world-respected spiritual guy, like a pope, because he criticizes the Pope in his books. He criticizes the Pope all the time. He's like, the Pope this and the Pope that. And who's this Pope and why is a Pope? And the Pope eats meat and the Pope this and the Pope. And you can tell it's like he wants to be Pope. He's jealous that the Pope has fucking command of millions and millions and millions of people. The spiritual leader for millions and millions and millions of people. The Pope goes out on tour and friggin' everybody comes out to see the Pope. Pope goes on tour. It's the biggest friggin' thing of the year. Well, Pope's on tour. I remember the Pope came to L.A. Oh, my God, it was the biggest fucking thing that L.A.'s ever had. Parades and, it was insane. It was like back in the 80s. Pope John Paul II. It was a big deal. It was like the Olympics. It was like the Olympics coming to town, but it was the Pope. Oh my God! And that's what Prabhupada wanted. Prabhupada wanted that. He wanted the big arrival at the airport, everybody singing and dancing. He wanted to be on TV and giving lectures. He wanted to be invited to spiritual things and give his speech about the world and Krishna consciousness. And he wanted that attention. He wanted that. He commanded it. He wanted it from everybody. That's why he said all. He's got so many quotes where he says, where the guy says, "Who's your disciples?" or something, and he says, "Everyone's my disciple, just they don't know it yet." And he made some other comments about being the spiritual master for the world, or his law books. His law books would be the law books. His books would be the law books for the next 10,000 years. How fucking maniacal do you got to be to think that? How megalomaniacal do you have to be to think that your books are so amazing that they're going to be the law books for the next 10,000 years of Earth's history? How demented do you have to be? Prabhupada was a rapist, he was a racist, he was a sexist, he was a homophobe, he was everything. Everything horrible. Everything horrible wrapped up in one guy. Rapist of human beings. He was a destroyer of lives. He's just a what a disgrace to have come near this call. That's how I feel. I am very, upset at all the book distribution, all the Harinams I went on, all the times I was out there trying to represent and be like, hey, look at me, I'm a Hare Krishna, and take a book, and I regret that so much. It's a great big oops. It's a great big. Lots of repetition for sure. Lots of repetition. Yeah, and then Prabhupada even brags about it. He goes, repetition is necessary. Tirik Ramaswamy's kids are going to have mental. You can imagine if he has twins and he ends up with 2 little kids. What do you say? This cult makes you be behind in life. They tell you marriage life sucks, then brainwash you to think that having a normal life is bad. Okay, now you bring up a good point. You know, that's exactly what they do, and they take time. They take life out of. They take years out of your life for nothing, and they brainwash you into thinking that. Why do you even have a job? Your job is meaningless. Your family's meaningless. The only thing that means anything is chanting Hare Krishna and serving Prabhupada. That's the only thing that means anything in life. So then people give up everything. You give up their job, like this guy. He gave up his job, and he was a software engineer. Gave up his job to go milk a cow. He gave up his job to go milk a fucking cow. Because Prabhupada says in his books, you can go milk a cow. And now this guy's going to end up like me. He's going to be in this cult for like 10 years, 10 years, maybe longer. And then he's going to come out of it and go, what the fuck was I doing? Where's my 20 years? That's what I did. I was pissed. I'm like, I'm 50. It took me a while. It wasn't like that day. It wasn't like the day I left, I went, hey, I'm 50. It was like I left, and I'm like trying to get my life together, and I'm like, I'm going to be 50 years old this year. I was 30 when I joined this fucking cult. I was 30 years old. I was a young man. I was 30. I was young. I'm 50 when I get out of it. 50. It sucks. They just sucked 20 years out of my life. I can't get it back. And that's what I'm trying to tell you people in there. Fucking pushing a shopping cart full of books around a Costco parking lot, selling books, begging with books. That's what I call it, begging with books. You're begging with books. Those people don't want that book. You're basically saying, give me some money and I'll give you this book. So you don't have to feel like you're giving me money. And you can say you bought the book. I can say I'm distributing the book. We're both happy and we'll go on our separate way. But basically, I'm just begging. I'm begging you to buy this book for $1 or whatever you got in your pocket, because the book only cost me 12 cents. And so if I can get a quarter, hey, I just doubled my money. But if you give me $1, then I just made 400%. But, you know, begging. Begging with books. Awesome classes. Hey, thanks, man. I that means a lot to me because, you know, I don't know how I'm doing. I'm assuming that everything's great, but I don't know. So thanks for telling me. I really appreciate it. I don't feel like a hero, but you know, I know what I'm doing is important. I can feel it in my heart that what I'm doing is important, and so you know, I appreciate it. Everybody, thanks. Thanks you. Thank everybody for being here, man. I really appreciate you guys all coming in and joining in, man, because that's what really makes what makes this go and happen. Yeah, you know, this cult is not a friend to women, children, or men. I mean, it treats everybody equally shitty. It treats everybody shitty. Women are treated shittier, and children the shittiest, but it treats everybody pretty shitty. But hey, listen, everybody, I want to thank you all for joining in today. I really appreciate everybody hitting the like button and sharing, subscribing, doing all of that. it really gets my views up and gets this message out there. And I know more and more people are watching, so I know we're all having an impact because you guys really adding to what I'm doing, because I hate sitting here feeling like I like sitting here, but it's better when others are joining in and going, yeah, this happened to me. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know this person and that person, because I don't feel like I'm just like some crazy guy yelling at a cloud or yelling at a demon head eating the moon. I actually, there's people there that are actually can validate and verify what I'm saying. So I really appreciate it so much, everybody joining in. So I want to thank you all again. Thanks. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. Everybody have a great day, great night, great morning, great afternoon, a great day, and have some great luck. Please stay out of a cult. And here you can see me be a Hare Krishna. Here we go. Let me see. Where is it? Oh, I'll find it. It's so important. All right, everybody.